Hi y'all. So this is a video for the fourth project, the one that I reopened because I think there were several people who are having trouble with some of the steps. Um, so just wanted to show you, I'm not going to do the whole project in this video. I'm going to try to do through step 6, and then we'll see if we need, I don't know what I just clicked on. We'll need to, if I need to create another one, I will. So in this project, you're working with a lot of formulas and stuff. We want to make sure that you know how to do that. And also you're going to be working with defined names, which is something that's new to us. So the first step is really pretty easy. We're really just resizing that row. So I'm actually just going to skip over that. It's just designed to reduce the space there. You can click on the row and change the size of the row. Cell D4, I know I had some people asking questions about what that was. They were saying, well, wait a second, it doesn't have name in D4, it has a date. Well, if you look up here, there's this thing up here called a name box. And if you hover over it, it says name box. What has happened is this cell has been named as date. That's the name of that cell. So instead of calling it D4, Excel is referring to that as date. That's done so that it's easier to write formulas later on if you need to use that value in that cell to calculate something. However, we don't need to calculate anything using the date in this worksheet. So what we're going to do is we're going to remove that. So generally when you open Excel, you're going to be on the home ribbon. If you go to formulas, you should see, and again, I'm using a Mac, so yours might look a little bit different. There might be a name manager. I have just plain old define name. If I click on define name, I get a list of all the names in my worksheet. So right now I have one cell that's named the amortization schedule. I have a cell that's named date. That's the one we're interested in. And I have one that's named interest schedule. So I'm going to click on date, and it's going to give me information. That's the name of D4. And all I need to do to remove that is just click that minus button, and it takes that name out of the worksheet for us. So it's actually a super easy step, but you have to know where to look. So that was step 2. In step 3, we are actually going to define some names because we're going to be writing a bunch of formulas, and we want to use defined names instead of just using cell names, or kind of our generic cell names. So what we're going to do is we're going to name the following things. We're going to name the D5, D6, and D7. We're going to name them according to the cells that are to their left, so loan amount, rate, and term. So to do that, again, I'm going to highlight that cell. I'm going to click on defined name. And then it's going to say, it's actually going to automatically default select the term that's in the cell next to it. So it's telling me, hey, we're going to call this loan amount. Yeah, we are. So I'm going to click OK. So again, super easy if you know where to look. So I'm going to do the same thing with D6. I'm going to name that rate. So again, it already chooses that name because that's in the table next to that cell. If you wanted to name it something else, you absolutely could, but we're going to be using those default names in this process. So I just did those 3. If I hover or if I click on each of those cells, what I should do is I should look in the name box and make sure that those names have been applied. So it says loan amount in the name box, it says rate in the name box, and it says term in the name box. Now I want to do the same thing in F5 through F7. So that's here, F5. I want to name that monthly payment, so it's going to be the same process again. Monthly payment, total interest, total cost. Really easy to do. Notice there's no values here yet. We're going to fill in those using functions and formulas. Okay, so that's all we're doing in step 3. We're just giving these cells individual names based on the adjacent column in the table. Step 4, we're actually going to calculate some things. So this is based on the idea that somebody's taking out a loan. They want to calculate what the monthly payment is going to be. And Excel has a formula that can actually do that, which is kind of cool. We're going to be putting this formula in cell 5. sorry, F5, you need the letter. So in the box or the cell that we have already named monthly payment, we are going to insert a formula that calculates the monthly payment for us based on the loan amount. So in the monthly payment, what we're going to do, and we're just going to follow these directions. It's very, very step by step. We're going to use the payment function. That's what PMT stands for. We're going to insert a negative sign after the equal sign because the payment function will actually give us a negative value. It's actually telling us, hey, this is a debit on an account, but we want the positive values so we see how much is outgoing every month. So we're going to do that by typing in an equal sign and then a minus sign. That's going to give us the inverse or the negative of the actual payment. And I'm going to type in payment, I'm going to open parentheses, and it gives us help. It says, hey, you need these things in order to do that. We need the interest rate, we need the number of periods, like so how many months is the loan, we need the present value. And then these other two are just some optional things that we're not going to use. Those are for a little more complicated calculations. But our rate, right? Our rate right here says it's 7.825%. We want to find the monthly interest rate, not the yearly interest rate, which is what this is. So to find the rate, we're going to use rate. So notice I can just click right on the cell and do that. And I'm going to divide that. Remember that our / is our division symbol. And I'm going to divide that by 12. That's going to give us our monthly rate. And that's not a hard and fast rule for finance. That's just the calculation that's being used in this case, although that is possible that that would be used in other loans that you might encounter. So we're going to then say, okay, then we need the number of periods. And each of these little bits are called arguments. So if you see that, we need the rate argument, divide by 12. Okay, number of periods argument. We're going to take the term, which is a 10-year loan, and we're going to multiply that by 12 to find out how many months there are actually in the period. So we're going to put a comma in there. And what that does is that tells Excel we're going on to the next argument. I'm going to take 10, or actually I'm not. I'm going to take term, and I'm going to multiply that. Remember, that's the asterisk, times 12. So that's 10-year loan, 12 months per year. That's going to give us the number of periods that we have. And then the last argument is the present value of the loan. And so all we have to do there is put in the loan amount, because we don't have to do any alterations to that to find out anything monthly. We're just looking at the total loan amount. So I'm going to go ahead and close my parentheses, and I am going to hit enter, and notice that this now gives me my monthly payment, and it displays our nice little formula or function up there. The next thing that we want to do is we want to calculate the total interest. So we're going to fill in this box with a value. We want to say, okay, what's the total interest? How much are we paying in interest on top of the loan amount that we have to pay back? Because when you pay back a loan, you're paying back the principal or the original amount that you were given, plus any interest owed on that amount. So that's important for this business to know. What's the total cost of having this loan? So we're going to take the total amount of the payments minus the loan amount. So what we're going to do is in cell F6, we're going to enter a formula without using a function. So this time we're not going to do something like what we did here, which was define that payment function and use the arguments. We're actually just going to directly type in what we want to do. So we're going to type in equals and a parenthesis, and we are then going to say, okay, we want to do 12 times the term. So I'm going to do 12 asterisk term. I can actually type term in. Notice how it already highlights that for me, so that's another way I can do it. And I'm also going to multiply that by the monthly payment, which I've found up here. So I can just go ahead and click that if I want. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to subtract the loan amount. I'm going to close the parentheses, hit enter, and that's going to tell me that that's the amount of interest that we pay on top of having to pay back this principal of $327,000. I can speak, I promise. Total cost then, So this is step 6. We're already down here. In F7, we want a formula that, without using a function, adds the loan amount to the total interest. So that should be pretty easy to do. We're just summing those two amounts together. So I'm going to, again, I'm going to enter my equal sign, my open parentheses. I want to add my loan amount to my total interest, which I just calculated. Close my parentheses, hit enter, and now I can see that the total cost of this particular loan that's being considered is $472,468.71. So if this business chooses to take this particular loan with these particular terms, 10-year loan at 7.825% interest, this is what they're going to end up repaying. So I'm going to stop there, and then we'll come back in another video and look at the remaining steps for this project.